Welcome into another episode of Locked On Phillies, and what a performance last night by Ranger Suarez, the start of the year so far for the Phillies. It might be the start of the year when everything's all said and done. He was unbelievable. We'll break it all down. Plus, Bryce Harper finally woke up a little bit at the plate, goes yard in the game, another RBI double, and then we'll preview Game 3 against Colorado, which is tonight, a chance for the first sweep of the Phillies season. All of that on today's episode.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm Connor Thomas, your host. Thank you so much for checking us out. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff that really helps us out. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. What a game last night for the Philadelphia Phillies, courtesy of Ranger Suarez. We're going to get into the offense, but I need to dedicate the entire first segment to this dude because I don't know that I can do justice to what Ranger Suarez did in last night's game. He was absolutely dominant. And if you're a curmudgeon out there and you want to go, oh, well, it's just Colorado, it's just the Rockies. Do you know how hard it is in today's major leagues to throw a complete game shutout? And it's not because necessarily like the offense has gotten better. I do think the offense is really, really good right now in the game. Average might not be, but basically 90% of guys in the majors have a chance to go out on any pitch, off speed, fastball, whatever. Like dudes are hitting home runs like crazy. We know the power increase. We know the offensive increase. We know that the game is headed that way and has been, but also because it's just so rare to see a pitcher be efficient enough that with today's pitch counts and the reason that they, like the way that they, I should say, handle pitchers' health, and they're very cautious with it at the major league level now and in professional baseball in general, to see someone be that efficient, to be able to do it, is a rarity. It's the second of the season, the first being Blanco's no-hitter for the Houston Astros, but it's the first in the National League. It is the first Philadelphia Phillies complete game shutout since last year. Can you remember who? Yep, that's right. Michael Lorenzen's no-hitter. That was the last time the Phillies had a complete game shutout. You might say, okay, well, that was post-trade deadline. Dude, it was the only one last year. This is like a solar eclipse. Okay, maybe it's a little bit less rare than a solar eclipse, but it's a sometimes once-a-year experience for a team. The league leaders in complete games are normally like, I don't know what, they have 3 complete games on the season, and that's good enough to lead the National League or American League. Like, this is a rarity. So that just sets the framing for how good of an accomplishment this is by Ranger Suarez, but this goes so much deeper than that. I mean, let's talk about a couple things for the start. We already brought up the pitch count, so let's start there. Ranger Suarez ended up throwing 112 pitches in his 8 strikeout, 9 full inning, 7 hits allowed, no earned runs, 1 walk, masterpiece stat line. Why does 112 pitches matter? Because Ranger Suarez's number one drawback over the past couple of years has been his lack of availability. He had a visa issue 2 years ago, didn't get to camp on time, didn't get to the season on time, just wasn't himself. He didn't look great. Next year, he goes to the World Baseball Classic, has forearm tightness, misses like a month, and he's constantly battling to catch up with other guys that started on time on the mound. He looked really good in the postseason the past couple of years, but he did not reach the level that you believed he could with his talent. And now this year, not only was he healthy through all of spring training, not only has he had a hot start to the season, but he's throwing 112 pitches on April 16th. Like, that's early in the season for these guys to really start getting that deep. And honestly, some guys will not throw that many pitches over the whole year, not combined, obviously, but they won't have starts that reach that point. It was a career high in pitches thrown for Ranger Suarez, and he deserved to be able to throw that many pitches because he was that good with them. But that should show you he's healthy. He's getting stretched out early. That's a great sign for what's to come for Ranger Suarez, that they trust him to throw that many pitches and that he's able to do that and take care of business and end the game with weak contact right back to him on the ground. Like you look good from first pitch to final out. Speaking of, right back at him on the ground. His defense is mesmerizing. He had multiple PFPs in that game. PFPs, pitcher fielding plays or pitcher fielding practice, however you want to break that. PFPs is the baseball term for when pitchers have to make plays fielding. And he made some unbelievable plays look just easy as anything. Like even covering first base is an adventure with some pitchers at the major league level. And Ranger Suarez can do it in his sleep. He catches comebackers like nobody's business. He had one last night that he bobbled that could have potentially been an attempt to turn for a double play. What does he do? Takes the time, throws it over to first, knows he has plenty of time. His internal clock is elite. Being a lefty, he normally naturally has that side of the field in front of him towards first base. Like I know they fall off away from it, but when you field and kind of turn, your body is facing that way as you release. So it feels kind of natural to look that way, I guess. But it's not even just natural. It almost looks unnatural how calm he is during these fielding opportunities. If he doesn't win a Gold Glove in his career, I don't know what went wrong, but he definitely deserves one. If he's qualified this year, you're going to have a really tough case to prove that someone else deserves it besides Ranger Suarez, but it might even go further than that. We talked about the fielding, unbelievable fielder. We talked about the ability to throw that many pitches, and we talked about what a complete game could mean. But let's just look at the actual way the guy pitches, because at the end of the day, you can be a great fielder, you can throw a lot of pitches, all of that stuff. You need to have good stuff or be a great pitcher, and Ranger Suarez has both. I don't know that I'd say Ranger Suarez has great stuff. His breaking ball is elite. It looked so good last night. He was getting guys that swinging balls bouncing a foot in front of home plate. And I know it's the Rockies, whatever. But his stuff is really good on some pitches, and some, like his fastball, it's just normal. He throws 92. And this is what I love about Ranger Suarez. Zach Wheeler is like a sledgehammer. Zach Wheeler is going to just absolutely beat you down by having better stuff and better speed and anything than guys can catch up with. He's not overpowering 99, but he's got overpowering stuff when you match his whole arsenal together. Ranger Suarez is more like a surgeon. He's more like a needle than a sledgehammer. It's just before you know it, the dude's throwing 92 on the outside corner low. He's throwing a change up that you can't even hope to touch after seeing a fastball. And then he's throwing a breaking ball in the dirt, just the right distance to get you to swing at. Before you know it, you're out. And he also pitches to contact very, very well. A lot of weak contact in that game. And he wasn't just striking guys out to go 9 innings and have 8 strikeouts. I mean, he must have had other stuff working as well. And he scattered 7 hits. That's the final thing I want to talk about with Ranger Suarez. The demeanor. We talk about it all the time. He's always calm, cool, collected. It's kind of his thing. Bryce Harper said after the game, the guy has no heartbeat, and was asked to compare that to other pitchers he's played with. And he compared it to 4 guys: Nola, Wheeler, Max Scherzer, and Steven Strasburg. That's pretty darn good company. And that's what Ranger Suarez is. That's what his ceiling is. So if you're one of those people that ahead of the season was like, this is Ranger Suarez's year, he's going to be amazing, he's going to win a Gold Glove, he's going to be in Cy Young contention, he's going to be an all-star, all this stuff. I'll tell you what, right now, the ceiling for Ranger Suarez's 2024 season is, I don't know if I want to say this. I don't want to jinx him. This is the ceiling. This is not the expectation. This is not he has to do this or it's a failure of a season. But could Ranger Suarez be in the Cy Young conversation? Absolutely. Could Ranger Suarez win a Gold Glove? Absolutely. Could Ranger Suarez win 15 games? Already 3-0 on the year. I mean, absolutely. We'll just say the sky is the limit for Ranger Suarez when it comes to his ability. And one more thing I want to talk about too, right? This is kind of tough because the Phillies have a lot of guys locked down, a lot of money committed. They're already kind of tight on the books when it comes to the luxury tax. But Ranger Suarez has one more year of arbitration. And then the next year after that, he's a free agent. So you're going to want to start thinking about locking down Ranger Suarez long-term. One of those eat an arbitration year, pay him a lesser amount than what he would get. you're going to want to think about that ASAP, maybe even this year before he has an outstanding year and that price goes through the roof. Maybe it's time for the Phillies to lock down the 28-year-old long term. They did it with Wheeler. They did it with Nola. It's a lot of money to commit, but he is just a guy. If I'll put it this way, if he gets the free agency, he's getting freaking paid, even though he's going to be 30 by the time he hits free agency. That dude's going to get paid. And I want the Philadelphia Phillies to jump the gun, give him a little bit of an upgrade, but get him on a team-friendly deal and have him here for a long time, because Ranger Suarez is quickly becoming a lot of people's favorite pitcher in the Philadelphia Phillies organization. But it wasn't just Ranger last night. He stole the show for sure. Player of the game, hands down, not even close. But the offense woke up a little bit. It was courtesy of a couple of the veterans, including one Bryce Harper. So we'll talk about the offensive side of the game last night and the Phillies opening it up a little as we continue today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about prize picks. If you picked the more on Ranger Suarez's strikeouts or on Bryce Harper's hits yesterday, you probably did pretty well. But hey, it's a new day. If you missed those, you can get back after it, because Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. They got more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. You watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season's underway. We're getting rolling now. 17 games in, 18 games in at this point. I mean, you're looking at a situation, 18 games in, I believe, where you've got a great chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, all that stuff. You just go ahead and take your pick of more or less, add them in to your Prize Picks entry today. Prize Picks is something for every sports fan. You got baseball, basketball, even League of Legends, everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, all in the same entry. Prize Picks is the best. You got to check them out. So go ahead and download the app, right? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It is that darn easy. And I also want to tell you about Monopoly Go, another great app that you got to check out. Listen, Monopoly Go is must play. You know, classic Monopoly. But if you've never played Monopoly Go, it's got the same kind of feel, but a whole bunch of new features and everything. It's the next generation of Monopoly, and it's so great. They're absolutely amazing. When you jump on the app, right, you've got like 1 billion boards you can play on. You got the OG, but you got a bunch of new ones. If you're competitive, this is it for you, because you can play with your friends and you can play against your friends, which honestly, in my opinion, it's always more fun to beat up on your friends than it is to play with them. But hey, maybe you're more of a friendly person than me and you want to have like this common thing you do with your friends. Monopoly Go is great for that. That's why it's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on classic Monopoly. You got a bunch of different boards. Like I told you, crazy locations. You can bring in big money to help you advance in the game. It's amazing. So go ahead and check it out. Get in on the game. Join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. Let's talk about the offense now, right? We gave Ranger Suarez his flowers, and he deserved it. He was the big story out of last night's game. I'm probably going to be talking about this on and off throughout episodes until he makes his next start, and we see if he does something else great. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the offensive showing last night in the game, because the Phillies scored 5 runs. They had 7 hits, which was even to the Rockies. Now, the Rockies obviously didn't score. Complete game shutout tells you that. So it wasn't a huge hit night for the Phillies, but they made them count. JT Realmuto got things going early. JT Realmuto had an insane at-bat in the first inning of this game. Comes up, 2 outs, runner on second, and you're looking at a situation where, okay, find a way to get a hit, find a way to find something in the outfield. Trey Turner was the runner on second, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And JT's just fighting off tough 2-strike pitches. I'm like, okay, just find a way to flip one the other way. Next thing you know, he gets a breaker and turns around, hits it out to left center. He's starting to kind of feel it out a little bit. He was only 1 for 4 in the game, with 2 RBIs on that homer. He did strike out twice. He's batting .263. It's not typical like JT Realmuto 275 to 280, but 263, great defensive catcher. Guy get a little bit older, in a great lineup. You'll take that. So I liked what I saw from JT Realmuto. But let's talk about the guy batting right in front of him, too. Bryce Harper in the 3-hole had 2 hits last night. He had a big RBI double, also, I believe, to score Trey Turner. And then he had a 2-run home run to really break the game open, make you feel pretty darn good about it. Just absolutely smoked the ball to straightaway right field. It was the classic, like Bryce Harper, how deep is this one going to go into the stands type of swing. And that's great because he had been in rough shape. He's 2 for 4 now. He had 3 RBIs. He only struck out once, and that was using Nick Castellanos' bat. You know, when players get into kind of a slump, sometimes they'll try and use teammates' bats. They'll be like, hey, mine's not working. I need to switch the mojo around a little bit. And Bryce Harper tried that, and I would have picked a different teammate to switch bats with, but that's neither here nor there. Nick Castellanos, by the way, 0 for 3 in the game. But Bryce Harper's only batting .215. Sometimes people worry about him. Last night was a textbook example of why you do not worry about Bryce Harper ever at the plate. Don't do it. I had someone respond to me. What about in game 6 and 7 of the NLCS last year? Dude, that's 2 games. Guys go cold in 2-game stretches all the time. It's unlucky. Partly it's on approach, and you don't want to see that happen again. But part of that is just kind of it's baseball. It's not baseball that the whole team went cold, but we don't need to relitigate the NLCS against the Diamondbacks. Bottom line is Bryce Harper is going to hit. He's going to be great. He's going to be one of the better players in baseball year in, year out, always, forever. Unless he's hurt, if he's available, he's going to be a problem. And when he hits these cold stretches, he's going to break out of them. He's not worth the worry. There are plenty of guys on this team to worry about whether or not they're going to hit. Well, probably not plenty, but worry about Rojas, worry about Pache, worry about Stubbs if he's got to play for Realmuto ever, worry about Whit Merrifield getting going, worry about Nick Castellanos figuring it out. Bryce Harper is not the guy to worry about offensively. They proved it last night. Big night for him at the dish. Some of the other guys that stood out a little bit, Bryce Stott with a single. Brandon Marsh went 0 for 3. This is not offense. This is still back to defense. And the Phillies defense outstanding so far this series against the Rockies, by the way. But Brandon Marsh had an awesome outfield assist. Really helped Ranger Suarez out because it would have been a big-time double for Colorado, but plays the ball off the wall perfectly, shows off the hose, great throw. I mean, every day, even if Brandon Marsh goes over, he does something that tells you, dude, can this guy be an all-star this year? I'm fully on the Brandon Marsh all-star train. We'll see if he keeps up the offensive production. But I don't know, man. Last night was a really fun Phillies game. And when I told you they were fine, I told you they're going to figure it out, this is the start. Now, we're going to talk in an upcoming episode. Maybe we'll do it on the off day tomorrow because the Phillies play tonight. And then tomorrow, Thursday, they're off. We'll take a look at later this month and understand why the Phillies need to kind of get going now because the schedule is going to get tougher. But you should feel good about where the Philadelphia Phillies are at right now. Last night was a fun performance, a fun game, and one they can build on tonight as they get a chance to go for the sweep. So coming up as we wrap up, we're going to preview tonight's matchup. 6 p.m. game, a little earlier. Can the Phils knock back their first sweep of the year? Well, they've already won the series. We'll talk about that too as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. Let's talk about FanDuel, though, too. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing. FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. The Sixers are in the play-in tournament tonight. That's why I'm rocking my Sixers shirt if you're watching on YouTube. Of course, I'm a Philadelphia sports fan through and through, not just the Phillies, but go ahead and check it out. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Here's what I would do, right? You just make the bet and you get the $150. You don't have to win it. I would go on there. I'd make a bet if you're a new user and bet on, I don't know, first inning total for the Phillies and the Rockies. They start at 6. The Sixers don't start till 7. Win or lose, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. You can use those bonus bets on the Sixers tonight. Isn't that a great opportunity? I mean, it's the best. So I don't know what you're waiting for. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Let's talk about tonight's matchup. The Philadelphia Phillies are going to round out their series with the Colorado Rockies. Now, the Phillies have won this series already. They won the first 2 games of the 3-game set. They haven't lost the series since that second series of the year with the Cincinnati Reds. So the Philadelphia Phillies are pretty darn good right now at finding a way to battle through series. They haven't quite reached their potential yet, though, and that's what I was kind of talking about with where the schedule changes, but that's a story for another day. If they can sweep the Rockies, they're going to put themselves in really good position. They're already 10-8. Rockies 4-14. Should be able to find a way to knock this one back. But Christopher Sanchez is on the mound. He's 0-2 this year with a 3.52 ERA. He hasn't looked great lately. A 1.43 whip, 15 1/3 innings pitched. The numbers don't look awesome compared to the rest of the Philly staff. They look solid compared to other pitchers in baseball, but you're looking at a guy in Christopher Sanchez that kind of, if you just watch him right now, he feels like he's kind of uneasy, maybe is the way I'll put it. He doesn't feel like he's settled when he's out there on the mound, or at least he hasn't this past couple times out. Now, the Phillies are still huge favorites to win this game. They're minus 215 on the money line. They're probably going to find a way to win this game. And I would love to see Christopher Sanchez be a huge reason why they do. Not a Ranger Suarez type of performance, right, where you just completely dominate the other team, but battle. Go 5 or 6 innings with 2 or less earned runs and give the Phillies a chance to win. Ryan Feltner is starting for the Rockies, though. I mean, he's 1-1 with a 3.38 ERA. That's better than Sanchez. 1.31 whip, better than Sanchez. 16 innings pitched, more innings than Sanchez. Like, he's not bad. He's a righty. And what's funny is they brought it up on the broadcast yesterday. The Phillies actually have struggled against righties to start the year. Normally, with lefty power hitters, Schwarber, Harper. You've got Marsh as a big hitter on this team now, lefty. Stott as one of your better hitters from last year, lefty. You look at that and say, oh, lefty-righty should be a preferable matchup. But it hasn't been for the Phils to this point. So I would love to see the offense get going even more. I know they scored 5 runs last night, but on 7 hits. I want to see one of those explosion games. Win it like 8 or 9 to something. Have like 11 or 12 hits in the game. Like, make us feel good about where this offense is because you're facing the Rockies. That'd be a great way to round out the series. Now, here's what I'll say. I said coming into the series that it's unfair sometimes to expect a sweep or a lot of times to expect a sweep in Major League Baseball. Other teams just find ways. You run into a good pitcher. You don't play 3 great games in a row. That it's tough to do. But I'm not going to get upset with the Phillies if they don't sweep tonight, and you shouldn't either. They have a really good opportunity to. I would love to see them sweep. If they don't, it's not the end of the world because they've already won the series. But a very winnable game, a great opportunity, and they're going to sweep somebody this year. Why not just start with the Rockies, build that momentum going into the off day? Off days feel better when you're coming off a 3-game sweep of an opponent. So that's what we're looking for. An interesting game tonight. I'd look at the lefties to try and have a big night. Maybe Bryce Harper stays hot. Maybe Kyle Schwarber bounces back a little bit. He's going a little bit quiet. Maybe Stott gets rolling. Stott's right around 250 this year on the batting average. But whatever the case may be, we're looking at a situation where the Philadelphia Phillies seem to be starting to figure it out, and that is great news. That's all for today's episode of Locked On Phillies. Tomorrow, an off day, so we're going to have a little time to bounce around and other stuff. We'll preview the White Sox series when that begins on Friday. That'll be Friday's episode. So tomorrow, a little bit more free range. We're going to touch on some stuff like looking around where the Philadelphia Phillies are in the landscape of baseball. We'll have the Nick Castellanos conversation again and see if there's a breaking point for some of the players that we're evaluating. And we'll obviously recap what happens tonight as the Phillies go for the sweep. So we'll talk about that next time, but that's all for today's episode. Again, I'm Connor Thomas. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing to the YouTube, all that great stuff. And I'll talk to you tomorrow on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.